I haven't ran the intro with 4 people yet, so that was a fun experience. And as usual, when it comes to StreamYard, my delay is always present and accounted for. Anywho, welcome. Oh, I'm so sorry. Hello, uglies. It's gotten better. It's gotten better, I think, maybe. But hello, uglies, and welcome to the Currently Unnamed Podcast, where the tea is piping hot and we are ready to spill. I'm president of the Coco Cane Fan Club, Logan Murphy.
We all know I'm president of the Coco Cane Fan Club because I literally live in Oklahoma with this girl. But anyways, my name is Natalia. I'm the dumb blonde from the Midwest, and we just love vodka.
Here's to that. I'm Audrey. Dragula is the only show that I will never miss. This last week, I was asleep and 11 p.m. hit. That's when it comes on for me. And I magically woke up. The power of Dragula was alive and well in my sleep that night.
And I am Brandon, your pop culture enthusiast of pop music, reality TV, makeup, and video games.
Oh, that's cute. I love it.
Woo.
I love all the intros. First of all,
Vodka.
I had to. Second of all, besties, let's go around. Everyone, let's talk about what's in our cup. Brandon, you start, and we're going to go around clockwise.
Okay, so I have pink lemonade vodka with sparkling lemonade.
Clockwise,
next in your
Natalia.
clock?
Clockwise.
Oh,
Clockwise,
it's me.
Natalia.
Okay.
You!
Oops. Anyways, so I've got a snow globe cup. That's not a snow globe. That's a Christmas ornament. Anyways, a Christmas ornament cup, and in it is some strawberry vodka, and also some sweet tea vodka, and a little bit of lemonade. No vodka.
Vodka?
But, you know.
I just have Diet Coke, always and forever.
I love that. We love Audrey being the one person not drinking alcohol tonight, because for once here on the cup, I'm drinking alcohol.
Here.
So I was gonna do wine, but I didn't want to leave my apartment today to go get wine, and I was out of vodka. So the next best thing I could find was bourbon. So I made a maple bourbon smash. It's bourbon, maple syrup, orange juice, and lemon juice, and it's really good.
I mean, I may be drinking, but it is like light on the vodka because I did not want to go too hard because I'm a lightweight. So that's why
It's
I'm like,
listen.
Light on the vodka?
Yeah.
I also get Asian glow, and for some reason, this vodka is just not doing it to me today, which is so nice. So that means my lightweight period may be ending.
Time will tell. Time will tell.
Yes. Time will
We'll
tell,
see.
likely in this podcast. But we are here to discuss the finale of The Coco Cane's Dragula Season 4. AKA Coco Cane Forever. AKA Why Wasn't Coco Cane in the top 4? AKA Coco Cane is my winner. AKA No, there's an actual winner, and we're happy for them. But
I will say the one thing that there are a few things with this finale format that I was a little sus with, but overall, I think the biggest thing that I wish that they did that other shows do is bring in the past, the contestants that were eliminated prior and let them do a finale look. I love when other shows do that. And I think I don't know. I think there were some things that could have been taken out and people would have appreciated this more, having them each show a finale look instead of, I don't know. There were just some other things where I was like, this just doesn't need to be there. Not that it was horrible to watch, but especially since they were all still there. They all stayed there while they were filmed. They could have done that. That's the one thing that I'm missed opportunities. We could have seen so many cool looks, more cool looks. We saw cool looks, but you get what I mean.
We could have seen more formaldehyde.
That part.
Totally.
I'm just kidding. I love my Arizona icons, all three of them.
Yeah, no, one thing off of that, Audrey. Oh.
You go right ahead, Natalia.
Okay, sorry. One thing off of that we mentioned in the Last Supper that they didn't do is my favorite part of the Last Supper is when the queens go around and pick who they think their winner is.
I thought that earlier today too. I was pissed.
And we didn't get that. And I truthfully to this day think that does have a factor in who does get the crown. Which that's where, we'll get into the whole story arc of how we feel production may have treated Dragula finale. I'm not mad about the winner. I'm actually very pleased with the winner, but definitely there were some things that Dragula doesn't do that were a little bit more suspicious this year.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, should we just say it? Because if you're listening to this, go watch the finale of Dragula and then come back and listen to this.
Yeah.
But I'm just gonna say, an Arizonan has finally won a drag competition. I'm so happy. Congratulations, Dahli.
My original winner of season 2 wins season 4.
Wow. And now season 2 has the most winners.
Mm-hmm. Season 2, literally, and I was telling Logan this, season 2 will forever be my favorite season.
Really?
There was nothing wrong in season 2.
It's been a while since I rewatched, but I would say season 2 is the final floor show that I remember the most.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because I tried to think today, I was like, season 3, I loved season 3. I would say maybe season 3 is probably my favorite winner, but I don't remember much of the final floor show, just off the cusp thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
But season 2, that's I think the defining moment for Dragula is that final floor show.
Yeah.
Victoria Black specifically, but
I only remember from season 3, the only floor show I distinctly remember is Landon's Filth. It's always the Filth ones. And the Boulets even said it, it's always the Filth floor shows that kind of define every season. For me, season 1, it was Melissa's Filth. Season 2, it was Bitches. Season 3, it was Landon's. Spoiler, this season, it was, I think, all 4 of them, honestly.
Yeah, it was hard to try to figure out who would win this season. Because I did have one I wanted to win, but I was still satisfied with the winner. So, but we'll talk more about that as it goes on. So,
was it Hoso?
Yeah. Yes.
I was about to say, I think with this floor show, it does remind me a lot of season 2 in the sense there were 2 people in the finale that I knew it was between.
Yeah.
And when it came down to it, was I mad at the decision? No. But do I think the other contestant may have brought it more well-rounded for what I think the audience was looking for? Absolutely. And so, we'll get into the looks.
We will. We definitely will. Yeah, so we're going to dive in. We haven't even done the full intro, but it's fine. I don't really care. It's just the cue to pull up the Twitters. All the Twitters. Every single one of the Twitters. All of them are on screen. But yeah, I mean, I guess we could start at the intro, which was weird and confusing, but I didn't hate it.
I did. But I just hate like overly emotional things that don't need to be involved. I like the I like the emotional moments. But this, I was like, what point does this have to the fullness of the episode? Looking at them, like just walking around California, I was like, I didn't like the intro.
Am I doing it? Am I doing it? Just somber in front of like what? I don't know.
It was one of those intros where I was just kind of like
a really good intro could have been like how in Survivor, for example, whenever they like have the winner edit like after the end when they're announced, like having like the highlight moments, like showing leading up to the winner, not winner, but like leading up for the final four, like having a little recap of everything that they've done. That would have been chef's kiss, amazing.
You want to know what would have been
But
amazing
just
for me?
watching sad?
See, I was thinking, I was like, what about their death scenes? Because in previous seasons, they show the finale's contestants' death scenes at some point, and those are like my favorite little tidbits.
I think it was only seasons 1 and 2.
Well, I don't care. Bring it back. Like, like
You're not
I
wrong.
lived, like the death scenes to me, and like I said, it like Zavaleta had the most beautiful death scene to date. Like I would have loved to see 4 more death scenes just to be like, you know what, like, why not? Like, why not?
Or was it last year that they had like just such a cool I don't know how to describe, maybe it was Resurrection, where the winners were like in a circle doing it was like a chant or something with the Boulets. Was it Resurrection?
I think it was season 3.
It was like a
because it was
seance.
I
season
loved
3 because
that.
it was the Boulets with Vander and Bitch.
I thought that was cool. Something where they could have incorporated that with Landon, or even just like bringing the final four to an altar or something to see. I don't know. I thought this was just kind of filler. Definitely filler.
Mhm,
I
yeah,
want to say, or go ahead, Brandon. Sorry.
I was gonna say because like they never continued the scene from episode prior, the Last Supper, so they never continued that. So we never knew who like actually died, but because it was a final four, so it never really happened. So
I would have loved to see the puppets, because we talked about this as well. Like I would have loved to see like Dahli and Sigourney as a puppet come in and like attack the Boulets, like save Saint and Hoso, and they like run away. Like that would have been so cute to signify like
puppets
a
were so
strong top four. Exactly, and the puppets were so well tailored. Use them more. Like.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Well, I was going to say they probably could have done something with Vander, Bitch, and Landon, but probably because of COVID, that's
True.
probably why they didn't. Which makes a lot of sense and I understand. Even though I think, did they do a finale viewing? I don't think they did, actually.
I don't think
they normally do a finale
either.
viewing. Like,
I know Bitch was going to have one. Bitch was going to have one, but I don't know if it was like an official,
I think it was digital.
It might have been made digital. I think it was originally, because I watched another podcast and they were going to do like a live thing afterwards at Bitch's party. So it might have been switched to virtual.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that, again, I'm going to say this about like all of the drag seasons that we've gotten this year. The fact that we got drag shows in a pandemic still is remarkable. And I appreciate every single person that was a part of every single show this year. So like, I'm not going to complain too much. I will complain. I won't complain like a whole hell of a lot because I understand it's very, very restricting the way that things had to happen. But yeah, it was fine. And then they walk in. And then we find out that, we knew it was the top four. They knew it was the top four. And then the Boulets are like, hey, you did it. Do the things that you already knew you were going to do. But then, also, you're going to be lip syncing to a song. I didn't write down the name. But you're lip syncing, and you have to do an interview. And I'm like, Tic Tac lunch? Were there Tic Tacs involved? Tic Tac? Like blood red Tic Tacs?
I didn't like the podcast either. I feel like Dragula does a pretty decent job of showing like real vulnerable moments, but this kind of took it out for me. Like it, obviously when it's in a podcast, it's more structured. It doesn't appear as authentic always. And so I didn't like the podcast either. And the other guy, the other person who was there, it was just kind of random because yes, they're involved in the production of Dragula, but it's a face that we don't recognize as an audience. And so I was just kind of confused at just automatically putting them there instead of just having the Boulets, because I was like, who are you? I only realized in the second rewatch, I was like, oh, they're involved in production. So they see everything, but I didn't catch that the first time.
So it's Ian DeVogler, who I used to follow. I don't anymore. There's reasons why. But yeah, he's been like basically the executive producer other than the Boulets since season 1. He's been like very, very involved in Dragula, like since it was just a pageant that happened routinely in LA. And so he's been around for like ages. And you may recognize him because in prior seasons, he was a part of acting challenges. So like season 2, when they did the Scream Queens, basically, the Scream Queens in the cabin, he was in everyone's scene as like the scene partner. In season 1, he was in everyone's like in the middle of the desert acting death whatever sequence where Vander came out in the skeleton look and was iconic.
The zombie challenge.
Yeah, so like he's been around, but they didn't show him at all this season, which made it like I knew who he was because I like had watched Dragula season 1 actually recently, because it's still on YouTube. Fun fact. But for the average audience, they like you said, Audrey, they just wouldn't understand who this was. I wish it was either Vander. I don't know if Vander was involved in the production of this season, or Jayla Parks, who's one of my favorite humans from a thing that we don't discuss anymore. But we love Jayla, and Jayla's also part of production. So I would have loved to see Jayla.
You know who I wish it was? I wish it was Israel.
That would make
I know
more
he doesn't
sense.
talk. I know he doesn't speak at all. But like, if he were just sitting there staring at me when I was giving this podcast, yeah, vodka.
Here.
Like I would
Here.
lose. I would. Yeah.
Vodka.
We're getting kind of empty, but no. I feel like with the podcast, him being there only helped one person, and I feel like that was Hoso. And I feel like that's something to talk about because both of them are of Asian descent, as he mentions, and I feel like that does help lead with a more intense storyline to like why Hoso should win, and we'll get into like Hoso's 3 looks and how cohesive their entire finale was. But I feel like that was a moment for Hoso to be like, oh, someone can relate to me. Someone who has seen this can kind of respond to this in a way that maybe I haven't gotten to hear in drag in a while. I thought it was very interesting. So Audrey, I personally liked the podcast because one, I love to get to know the characters more, and I love to get to know these people more, and it gave them a little bit of a chance to kind of give the Boulets a little bit of vulnerability because like the Boulets aren't there 24/7, you know? Like they're there when they're on stage, and so they get to see vulnerability. They get to hear about it from production, as we learn, and then they get to like see it when it's on that stage. I don't like when they ask the question, why should you win? Because it's like, I should win because I've done the work and I've looked the best and I've done every challenge and I've never, like, it's an excuse to be like, oh, my track record was good, or oh, I can be your first token winner, or I can be your first winner of just like this reason, versus like, I deserve to win because I am a drag super monster.
Mhm.
One thing I will add to like jump on hating that question is the response of like the professionalism thing and like the experience thing. I don't see how that's a valid thing in a competition. If you come to the competition and you bring it, period, that's it. You don't need to have like all like the competition isn't Dragula and your experience prior to everything before you entered into the doors of Dragula. It is what you bring specific. I think that was during the questioning, or I think that was during the podcast where it was Sigourney who said it, who was, and like I really have enjoyed Sigourney this season. I love Sigourney, but I hate, and it's not just her, like it's brought up in different aspects of TV. I think that's such a dumb argument. If someone comes and it's the first time they've ever done drag, but they do amazing, who cares if they have tons of experience before? I don't see how that in terms of the competition matters.
Well, we talked about that. Like, Mary Cherry is a perfect example of that, because the first 4 episodes we're talking about Mary being safe and Mary shouldn't have been safe, but because of their reputation, it carried them a long way. Like, and that was even mentioned in like the little one-on-one interviews between the Boulets. And so I agree with that completely. I will say, in Sigourney's defense, when coming for Hoso specifically, like professionalism within production does kind of take a factor, especially like within a drag competition. And I'm not saying Sigourney was 100% right in the situation, but like Hoso does have to be put together even backstage, or like in order to be successful, if that makes sense. Like, I don't feel like production should have to help Hoso with every single step behind the scenes, and Hoso deserves to win. I think towards the end of the season, when they kind of cleared the air and like was like Hoso wasn't asking for literal like dumb things 24/7, but I think during a competition, like the heat of the moment, I completely get where she's coming from.
In Hoso's defense, though, I think that the only time that they showed them actually asking for help, besides the makeup wipe thing, was when they were putting on a very intricate costume. So I think bringing that in as a storyline, if they wanted to make it an actual thing, they needed to give us more
context,
because we saw two examples. One, I think, is a valid example. If you are putting on a big costume, you're going to need help, period. So I don't know. I didn't like that aspect of trying to bring that in as a reason to not give them the
crown someone. Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah, when they brought that up, like I remember watching that episode first during that whole like thing. I really didn't understand why they brought that up in the middle of deliberation, and it really I guess we should have seen something before, like to like find out the context. And then when they brought it out like just randomly, I was very like, okay, so what?
Yeah.
Like I don't know how they format it in a way, because like whenever they do their like deliberations before they like talk to them, sometimes it can be a little I'm not saying off-putting, more so like I guess I wonder like what they try to get their thoughts out before they like talk to them.
Yeah.
But then, like, if you're gonna complain about Hoso's unprofessionalism, apparently, why cast them? Like, that's like, if you're gonna complain about this for 3 or 4 episodes, then why cast them?
Maybe it's like in an audition video, you don't get to see the professionalism put behind it. Like, it's easy to put on like a face. Like, it's also like, why cast Mary Cherry? because of their reputation or because they are the next Drag Supermonster. You know what I mean? Like, and no shade to Mary's drag, but what we were shown was not what it takes to be the next Drag Supermonster, and a lot of their storyline was my reputation in New York.
Yeah.
So I think like that would kind of be the argument for Hoso, and also Hoso's drag is so elevated. Like, as a drag artist, phenomenal, never seen before, and brings like a different input and like really brings like authentic Asian culture into the drag scene. And I don't feel like we've really had that in Dragula, which I think is like a huge turning moment. But yeah, I just like, it was very interesting, like, because the conversation that they had about Hoso and production behind the scenes with like Hoso's very unprofessional was like very abrupt too. Like it just was kind of like randomly thrown in an episode, and then we got to slowly see how that developed. And it was like, if you would have shown us a scene where Hoso was yelling at production, being like, I need your help right now, or like, I need you to put this on me, I would understand it more.
Yeah. Slash like
Yeah.
more like a like every episode, I don't know, having it to be like a growing type of situation of being like, there they go again, you know, that type of thing. Because they did that, I mean, they did that with Saint, with the movements and how they performed. And so we were able to understand that more because they kept bringing it up episode by episode. But this, it was like, they talked about it twice, and then it was a big factor into the decision, you know?
I also want to point out, if you can recognize where in the timeline of this season these things started getting brought up, episode 5. Who wasn't there episode 5? Mary Cherry. I feel like the editing of this season is honestly my biggest qualm with the season, because it felt so Mary Cherry centric for 4 episodes, and then after that they were like, oh, I guess we should probably talk about other people and how they're doing. And then all of a sudden we see this Bitter and Jade debacle, whatever the fuck is happening. We see them talking about Saint not being able to perform properly. We see them talking about Hoso being unprofessional backstage. We see like the Sigourney storyline obviously stays the whole season because she's there the whole season. But it's just like, it was so Mary Cherry centric that there just wasn't time for them to talk about anything else.
Yeah.
It's frustrating because I don't feel like, I mean, we know Dahli because Dahli was on before. We know Saint because Saint was on before. We know Jade because Jade was on before. But like, I would have loved to know more about Coco. And we said it in our Last Supper review that we've determined Coco Kane was eliminated by default in episode 3. But like, I would have loved to see more of her. I would have loved to see more of Astrid. And it's not just because they're early outs, it's because all we know about Astrid is that they are in the same drag family as Dahli. They won the first challenge and they had a panic attack after being called in the bottom. Do you know anything else about Astrid?
A romance with Hoso?
A romance with someone who ends up in the final 4. Like, do we know anything else about Astrid? No, and I would like to. I'd like to know more about Coco. And we got a lot more of it in Last Supper, which I appreciate. But like, even as much as I don't like her, I feel like Bitter didn't really get a whole lot of like her storyline other than like the time she came back from extermination. And while I don't particularly like her, it would have been nice for people like her and people that are trans to have her have more of a conversation about that, because there haven't been a whole lot of trans and non-binary contestants on Dragula. So like, the moral of the story, why was it Mary Cherry centric?
I think it has to be because, I mean, Saint and Dahli both talked about how the biggest thing that they brought into coming back was how they wanted to not be in the drama of things. And so I think being as stable forces within the season. I think a lot of people probably saw that and were like, okay, yeah, we're all going to be friends. Like, we're going to be here for it. And so I think because Mary was mainly the one who was willing to rock the boat, that from a TV standpoint, they think, oh, we have no option. Like, we have to show this because people want to see the drama. People want to see the fighting. And I will say that one Cauldron episode, I don't know what it was, that was beautiful television. And so that worked for that episode. But it involved everyone, though. So that's, I think, why it was so good, is because everyone had a piece in that cauldron. But I thought that must be it. I think a lot of them came in.
I will say, though, like,
And
while
Mary
it was good... Yeah. While like the drama segment was good, like it's good television, but in my opinion, like if I were to like see this for the first time, I would be like, what the hell is going on? Like,
Totally.
Yeah.
Like if
that was
I'll try to continue but if all people want is drama within like the viewers, like if all they want is drama, like it wouldn't be like good TV if they like don't get the competition aspect.
No, I completely agree.
If all you want is drama, go watch season 2.
That part.
Create the Real Drag Queens of Potomac and Atlanta and New York. Like, it's like one of those things where it's like that episode is so iconic, and honestly, it's iconic for just one person. And to me, that is Dahli being the mediator of every single conflict that is going on, of like Hoso crying about not being Glamour, and Sigourney just screaming at people, and Jade and like Zavaleta like going at it and turn me out. Like
Today's Cauldron was a piece of shit. Here's what happened. Like, literally.
Mm-hmm. It was like
good.
Last week on Dragula. Okay, Dahli, take the floor. You're the narrator for the season. Like,
I kind of feel like Dahli was the narrator of the season.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I guess because I'm not saying like because like of course Dahli returned, but like I guess it's like was a breath of fresh air to know like because Dahli knew what they were doing. So I was like, all right, we can. And of course, with the same thing with Saint. So, like I do remember, like with the whole, I guess confessional stuff. Dahli, Saint, and Mary were like the main focuses of sorts. I'll be honest, like it was like a relief, like kind of like a relief to like have Dahli and Saint like I guess narrate because of course they are veterans, and then of course with Mary's like with all that editing going on, I could see why they wanted to like have that. So
I think that's how they were going to give Dahli their airtime, and I don't mean that in an offensive way, but like when you look at the season, every person had something going against them except for Dahli. Because like, well, I'll start with the final 5. Zavaleta had a costume malfunction majority of the episodes, but also developed this like storyline about their family and finally opening up. Then you've got Hoso. Hoso's like conversation went from the relationship to the level of professionalism. And there were a few episodes in between where Hoso was kind of doubting themselves, like which can be seen as a negative. Sigourney in the conversation of Glamour and like why is she only bringing Glamour and how negative that was considered. And then you've got Saint and the ability to dance, but also the internal struggle of Saint being like, why do I keep getting second? Like, I'm here to win. I deserve a win. Like, stop placing me high. Like, give me the win or send me home, in a sense. Like, but Dahli never had anything like that. Dahli was very much just there. And like, I don't mean that in a negative way again, but like, Dahli was the contestant that was just there. And like, I love Dahli personally, so I was okay with it. But
well, that's like Landon. Landon also was very above. Not like above the people, but above the drama, you know? And so Landon just stayed in their lane, did what they needed to do, and worked out great for them. We love the winner, Landon. Favorite winner.
All 4 of the winners, honestly, all 4 of the winners are just spectacular.
Mm-hmm.
But do we want to dive into the final 4 shows?
Let's do it.
There are 12 of them to discuss, so pause for screen sharing happening because screen share is going to take a second. The Boulets. I told Natalia about this. I had a comparison for what the Boulets looked like in this final episode. And I feel like the Boulets looked like Ariana Grande if she was a contestant on Dragula traveling to Chromatica.
Okay.
The vibe I was getting. Or Dragula on Chromatica, and you don't even need the Ariana Grande.
I could see that. I actually could see that. So
we're gonna go with Dragula on Chromatica then. That's what we're gonna go with.
yeah, I think that's like I think I would like prefer that.
Because like
we stand.
Oh my God, oh, we love Ariana Grande here at this podcast.
Yes.
So we're gonna talk about them. We're gonna talk about them in the order that they were shown. So Glamour, then Horror, then Filth. But we're gonna talk about the contestants in alphabetical order because that made it easy for me.
Okay.
So that's what we're going to do.
Can we take this as a break to refill our drinks?
I still have some.
Yeah, totally.
Okay, cool.
We'll just
I also
start
wanna
talking
take
about
the wig
Dahli's Glamour.
Be right back.
So we're going to start and have a lengthy conversation to wait for Natalia, talking about Dahli's glamour look and their lip sync to a song. Again, I don't remember the song. It was good. It was a good song.
I need to get. I need to add that song to my playlist.
Right. It was a good song.
Dahli's Glamour, I think, because I think Dahli's Glamour was the most like, yes, that is Dahli. If that, if that makes sense. Like you looked at it and you're like, that is Dahli. That is glamour for Dahli. That is what I got most from it.
Mm-hmm.
It's very good.
Very good. Yeah, Dahli walked out and I was like, a gown, kind of?
Yeah.
A gown. Beautiful. A gown? Beautiful gowns. Stunning gowns. No, I really love the story that they had as well, talking about how this is the color of the HIV pill that they take every day. I really, really loved that. This was also a different makeup for Dahli, but like you said, Audrey, still very Dahli. They're great. They're great. They're great.
I'm trying to think who my favorite glamour was. Like, who won glamour for me? I think it was definitely between Dahli and Hoso. But trying to pick between, because I loved Hoso's glamour also. Obviously, we'll get there, but it's so hard, I think, to pick between the two of them for glamour specifically. I think the other categories, I'm like, okay, yes, I can pick which one I was just more not wowed by, but more struck a chord, But the glamour one, it's hard to tell. They both did so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I think the glamour category for me was like the most competitive, like next to Filth. Next to Filth. Because like with horror, like that, of course everything's subjective, obviously. So I'm trying my best to like see what was my favorite of like of those three categories. And for me with this season, obviously Glamour and Filth really got it for me. So and then of course it really came down to horror for me. So it was just a lot. And seeing this look specifically, and of course I will say this, like the lighting for this season, like phenomenal.
Yeah. The lighting for this lip sync was really, really I almost wish we had seen more of the lip sync though, because the lip sync kind of felt like purposeless. In a way, oh. She forgot to mute her.
Not hearing the family drama.
The family drama. But yes, we love Dahli and we love Glamour. Therefore, we love Dahli's Glamour.
I'm trying to look up the song because I'm looking at the fandom wiki and I don't see it for some reason.
I don't think it was on there for some reason either. Natalia, Glamour, Dahli. I've already moved away from it, so we're going to look at Hoso, but your thoughts on Dahli's Glamour?
I thought for Dahli it made sense. It's one of my favorite Glamour looks because I love that red. I love the hat. Like, I love the details to it. I love the androgyny behind it. It's very Dahli. Like, it's just very Dahli. Which, like, I feel like Glamour is the category that is the most difficult for Dahli. Like, when it comes down to like, everyone has, like, their category that's probably the most difficult. Glamour would be Hoso and Dahli's. Honestly, for Saint, I think it is Filth. And then I think for Sigourney, it's horror and Filth a little bit, but like mainly horror. And so it was like really nice to see Dahli look so good in Glamour.
I found the song name. It's called Change the Paradigm by Astra.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. My screen share stopped, which is lovely. I'm getting it back. But imagine Hoso's Glamour look, and then it will shortly be on screen again. But what do we think of Hoso's Glamour?
Loved, obsessed. I love Hoso so much. And again, really, I love all of the top four. But even like the moment Hoso came out, and Natalia can attest to this. Whenever we first talked about the season, texted and was like, I bet Hoso's your favorite. Yes, Hoso has been my favorite from the beginning. And so, this Glamour look was just so good. And especially with how the first Glamour challenge went for them, how defeated they were. I was like, hell yeah, like you did this really good. Not really, you know, it's subjective, you know, but it's so easily seen as Glamour. And so I just loved it so much.
So there's one thing for Hoso's Glamour look that I wish they would have done. And in my mind, I'm like, if they would have done this, it would have secured the win. This Hoso Glamour look is stunning. I love the Asian culture reference. I love Hoso's ability to tell a story, being a courtesan like during this time. The one thing I wish is there was some sort of reveal, because it looks like it would have a reveal at some point. And my dream is for Hoso, being a courtesan, to have a reveal into this like super tight bodysuit that's like jeweled or something that shows off Hoso's body, because a courtesan is known for seducing men for money and being very powerful. I just watched the Moulin Rouge, so I remember all of this. But like, literally, if Hoso would have had a reveal that really showed off her body during this, I feel like that would have secured the win, because she would have been not only changing how she viewed Glamour, but also bringing a sexy aspect to it, which we didn't get to see from Hoso throughout the competition.
Yeah, that would have been fierce as fuck. That would have been so cool.
Because this look is stunning and their lip sync was stunning, but it looks so much like she's just going to untie the headpiece, take it off, throw off this outfit like a cape.
And I will say that was probably the most striking thing for Glamour, though everyone's Glamour for me, was that there was no like moment for me. Like there was no like not to say that they didn't all have amazing Glamour looks, but there wasn't that one moment where I was like, damn, like that really, like that takes it to the next level, you know? At least for me. I'll only speak for myself, but.
No, I completely agree. The only thing I would disagree on is I don't think all of their Glamour looks were good. Honestly. And that's just being serious, because, which we'll get into that with.
No, we'll talk about it. I agree.
But Hoso, to me, like, between Glamour, it was between Hoso and Dahli, and I don't know which one the Boulets preferred.
Yeah, I preferred Hoso's glamour. Like this was, of course, I related to this a lot. Like seeing like that whole like seeing that face that Hoso like did for this one specifically, because like this is a different Hoso look that we've seen throughout the season. So seeing this different type, but still like Hoso, like it really brought it for me, like in my opinion.
This was my favorite glamour. Spoiler. I have to agree with everything y'all said. I was gonna touch on the makeup as well, Brandon, because for me, like this is Hoso makeup, but it's so different. Puns. But no, I just thought this is incredible, and she looks great, and there's not really much else to say.
Also, something really funny about Glamour. So the light that comes down on them, that like red light, it reminds me of a saw trap from Jigsaw. If anyone
Oh
has
my God,
seen
no.
Jigsaw, it gave me very much the vibe where they're all wearing those like collared necklaces and there's like the laser. Yeah.
Oh, now I see it.
But no, I love this look.
So good. We're gonna move on to Saint's glamour look. If and when it loads.
Oh, there. Okay.
Yeah.
The first thing that came to my mind is she's wearing a caftan. And then I thought of Honey Mahogany.
Immediately. Yes!
Yeah.
I'm like, where's Honey Mahogany?
I think what screws Saint over in this finale, and I'll mention it now, is like, so when we look at Saint's 3 finale looks, they all relate to something Saint has done on the show in the past. Saint tweeted about this. In their minds, this is genius. However, as audience members, we don't get to see that, nor does it ever get referenced in the show that all of Saint's looks are going to be a culmination of Saint's progression from season 3 to where she is now. And I think that's what screws her over the most. It's a pretty black dress that's very simple, and it doesn't show off her body like they said. To me, this isn't glamour. This is, I'm going to the club.
I don't know that I think it's going to the club. I think for me, I feel like with Saint's look, I wasn't able to get a really good view of it. I think like even in this gif right here, it's very dark, and I think maybe if a different lighting was like shown on the outfit, we would have been able to get a better like full experience of it. And even relating back to, I feel like I relate to Saint in the way of going back to the tweet of, I am very much a person who, I just have the overwhelming idea that everyone thinks and has the same thought process as me. And so I think that's like what Saint is like experiencing here, of going back to the tweet of knowing in their head that this is connecting back to everything that they've done before. But then like after the fact being like, oh wait, not everyone was getting this in the moment. Like, what have I done? You know, that thing. And so I was thankful for the tweet, because once you see the tweet, you're like, holy shit, like Saint is brilliant. But then it didn't translate on the specific episode, which sucks. But I personally, I didn't hate the look. I wasn't super like, oh my God, this is incredible, you know, type of situation. But I said that earlier, so with about most of them. So
yeah, like to like go off like with the whole like tweet with what Saint put out, like I really enjoyed this, like again, because with the chest up, you can see like what the whole thing is about now. Like I guess it didn't, of course, like you said, it didn't translate for when it first showed, but now like seeing that, I was just like, okay, now we know why. Like I think if we got the explanation during that, I think like she could have got, like Saint could have gotten more points for this.
And this is where the podcast could have actually been good, is this could have been a good moment. That would have been a good moment for Saint to, and maybe they did, and it just wasn't put on the episode. That would have been a great moment for them to explain the tweet on the podcast. You know what I'm saying? To be like, oh, like this is, I'm going to incorporate things from the past, you know, but.
What did
if I remember on, I'm so sorry. On that point, I want to say two things before, and Brandon, I'm so sorry. I'll give you time. The tweet that we're referencing, for people that haven't seen the tweet, I'll clarify it for each one of their looks. But Saint tweeted specifically, like, a bunch of people were asking on Twitter what all these looks were connected to. And this one specifically, Saint says, is the wife of the ghost ship captain. So when you see that and when you hear that, you understand the look better. I also want to say, I believe in the podcast, they were only asked about one look, where I think everyone else was asked about two. And Saint was only asked about their horror look, which we'll talk about next.
Yeah, that's what I was going to talk about. Like, that's what I was a good.
Yeah, go right ahead.
Yeah, I was going to ask, like what look was Saint going to talk about in the podcast, and it was the horror look. So I was just I guess like in a difference, if the glamour look was brought up instead, I guess we could have like gotten the explanation better for this one. So that's what I was going to like bring up about it.
And like, don't get me wrong, to me, the winner for Saint is her hair in every single one of these. To me, she had the best hair by far. But to me, this doesn't give me the ghost ship wife. This gives me, she just got resurrected from season 3 after being stabbed with that stake in the heart, and she's ready to come for a bitch. I don't get the ghost ship glamour.
Yeah, that's what I also thought it was.
I get vampire from this. I don't get ghost ship at all. And I know it's like, to me, her ghost ship glamour, I still think Saint should have potentially won ghost ship glamour with how they looked.
So good.
It was so good. But I'm like, if that was your ghost ship glamour and that was your captain, I just feel like you could have done more with this if you're wanting to reference it as like the ghost ship glamour, because it doesn't read to me at all of I've been on a ship. I've been like, and maybe it's the accessories, maybe it's, I don't know.
Well, I was going to say, if it's going to be referencing the ghost ship, her ghost ship captain was in this like blue number, right? Then why isn't this blue sequin?
Yeah.
That part.
And maybe it is, honest to God, because of the lighting, maybe it is a navy blue and we're just not seeing it. And if it is, sorry, Saint, but it's translating as black on like in the episode watching and on screen now. And I wish if it had been more of like a cobalt blue with the red, I think that I would have maybe put that together if I'd thought about it a little bit. And everything y'all said, it would have looked really cool, because I personally love that, the blood red and cobalt blue. Love that combination together personally. But
on her Instagram, I still can't tell if it's navy blue or black, because it's a red background, which I thought would help more. But like when you zoom in on it, it's got like a sequined pattern. Like it isn't just sequins all over it. Like it's actually patterned out, which that doesn't read on this stage. It looks like it's just got sequins covering it. And to me, the fabric underneath looks navy blue, but the sequins look black.
And another thing, when it comes to Saint, another thing that I'm glad, I forget what week it was, but it was when the judge was saying how Saint reads really well on camera, because that's another thing back to how they were editing and things that they were bringing into the storyline that just, I don't think may add it up, because every week they give Saints the critique of like, they don't perform well. But then when we see them on the screen every week, I'm like, wow, Saint is incredible. Like Saint really has it. But I'm glad that one judge was like, it's because they go to the camera really well, but it's different when they're sitting and judging. But to me, I'm like, okay, well then if that's going to be the case, you need to show them their performances differently, if that's how you're going to reflect in the judging. Yeah. Because each week, and like even here, I'm just like, wow, they're great.
Or the judges need to see what the cameras are seeing. One of those two
exactly.
things.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it was Extra Sisters, where they were like on camera.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I think that was it.
That episode in itself was
The mime episode, I think. Was that the same thing?
Oh, it was the last.
no,
Yeah,
that
it
was
the
the Final Four episode.
I think it was the mime
Was that final?
episode.
Oh well.
Who knows?
10 drag reality seasons this year. They all blend together. Genuinely, they all blend together.
I've only watched 2 of them.
I've watched all 10. It's horrible.
The
Just
look
kidding.
isn't
I
bad.
love queer art. Queer art, yes. No, I'm never
Yeah,
going
like
to shit on Dragula or Drag Race because queer art is on mainstream television around the world.
Yes.
I will be right back. But please discuss this disappointing glamour look from Sigourney Beaver.
I think what makes it so hard for Sigourney is they hype Boulet said it best. Like Sigourney was hyped up as this glamour monster from the beginning. That no matter what Sigourney was gonna do in glamour, it was either going to be the best thing they were seeing in the evening or the worst thing they were seeing, because they had that expectation of Sigourney as a glamour. I would wear this dress. I think it's beautiful. I love the hair. But with other outfits Sigourney has worn, I think they've done better wearing other outfits as glamour that they could have worn in the finale than they did with this one.
Marie Antoinette kiss. That was still one of the best looks.
Yeah.
It was just, I think, surprising because I think with Sigourney, and maybe this was their thought process as well, of me coming into the finale to watch it. I was like, okay, if Sigourney wants a shot, they really have to bring it for filth and horror.
Yeah.
And so maybe that was their thought process too, of being like, okay, I'll show a glamour, but not the glamour, because I'm going to, really work up and be like jaw-dropping for the other 2 categories. I don't know what it is that would make me like this look more. Maybe if the panty wasn't black, and that's like, that takes me out of it too. But I don't know. Like, I don't know if it's a jacket or like a sleeve. I don't know.
I think she should have been dripping in jewels. I think she should have had a huge necklace. I think she should have had like rings on every finger. Honestly, if she painted her body like gold or something iridescent where she looked metallic, like something that made her shine.
I had an idea. I saw this and I was like, oh no, Sigourney's lost and it's only the first category. For me, what would have been fierce as fuck and something that Sigourney didn't show in all of the glamour that she showed this season, I would have loved a nude bodysuit covered in AB crystals with like full-on pageant jewels. You can keep the updo because the updo is cute, but like AB jewels literally from your neck to your toes. And I think that it just a nude illusion bodysuit, because she didn't really show a bodysuit. It was always a gown, sometimes a gown with a reveal. But I think that would have just been so unexpected for Sigourney and just so fierce.
This is a prom dress.
Literally.
That's my big thing about it. I have seen a girl wear this at prom. I own an iridescent dress that, like, I'm just like, Sigourney to me, and I completely agree with you, Audrey. I think she came in with the mindset that filth and horror was where she needed to slay, so no matter what she did in glamour, she was going to be fine. Mm-hmm. But I think because the expectations the Boulets had for her on glamour and the way everyone said she was doing the best glamour, she should have been like, you know what? No, I do embody glamour the best, and I'm going to prove it. And here's why I deserve to win, because even though I am glamour, you haven't seen anything like my glamour before.
Totally.
Yeah. But if I had to rank them, I would probably rank them Hoso, Dahli, Saint, Sigourney.
I agree.
Same.
Yep. Yeah, we're in agreement as far as that is concerned. I am coming into this as a champion of Sigourney Beaver. I love Sigourney Beaver.
That's a fact.
For me, overall, she was fourth in this episode, unfortunately. And we'll talk about her horror in a second, but it just...
See, to me, she got third in the episode, but we'll get to it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I also had Sigourney at third of the episode.
Oh, wow. I mean, that's good for you.
We're a
I'm
split
happy
panel.
to hear
Here
that.
we go.
I mean, as a fan of Sigourney, I'm happy to hear it, but like, she just didn't do it for me. So as my screen share happens again, because my computer is very overwhelmed right now. Next up, we're gonna dive into horror. First up with Dahli giving the zombie pope, as I'm calling it.
This was my least favorite of Dahli's specifically. I'll wait until the screen. Okay, I was gonna say I'll wait until screen share. I loved the body movements of this one. I thought the performance of this one was really good, but I didn't connect with the outfit in a way that pushed it over the top for me.
No, I am completely 100% in agreement, Audrey. And I was going to say the exact same thing. Dahli's horror, while very beautiful in its own right, I don't think we got enough of a backstory on it for it to make any sort of sense. Like, to me, like, this should have been their exorcisters, angelic, like, demonic floor show versus the one that they did. Honestly, if they would have flipped them, I think Dahli would have done better in horror, because I actually liked the outfit Dahli wore for Exorcisters. I just thought it wasn't the right runway for it.
Yeah.
I think this was Dahli's weakest category of the night, which is surprising because horror is definitely one of their strong suits. But yeah, to me it was, I don't want to say too simplistic, but it was just very like, eh. And then I feel like we've also seen this character before in horror movies. Like, I feel like I have seen this Pope in like Paranormal Activity. You know what I mean? Like, it's a character I've seen before, and I wish it was something just a little more original.
You know what this reminds me of?
What?
The band Ghost.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was my friend who I watched Dragula with, she is a huge Ghost fan, and like seeing like that, I was like, is this a relation to Ghost? And she was like, yes. So I really like, again, it's like you said, like it's not like simple, but it felt like it was a little simplistic in a way. But like I agree that this was not like my favorite look from Dahli. So
you know what? If no one else is gonna say it's simplistic, I'm gonna say it's fucking simplistic. Because I really honestly think that. I am gonna echo everything y'all said. For me, like the body movements were good, but I agree. I think Audrey, you said it. There just wasn't a story behind it. I didn't get enough of a storyline as to like, why is this zombie Pope existing on this stage? Like, why are you here? And that's what I was missing from it. The floor show was good because Dahli gives a good floor show every single time they're on stage.
Yeah. But
for me, it did feel simplistic in that, I'm going to quote that other drag show, that other reality show, but it looked like a piece of fabric wrapped around their waist.
okay.
I do really like the body paint though. I don't know if that's like the body makeup. I like how they did the body
paint.
Yeah, body paint. I thought that was really cool. But the fabric part, it's where it lost it for me.
Yeah.
Next.
Oh boy. It's a big one, y'all. It's Hoso's horror look. And for once, I want to start. This is my favorite look of the entire finale. Hands down, no questions. The best floor show, I will say as well. This was fucking incredible, and I honestly don't have any other words to describe it.
Like, she told a story here. Like, Hoso told a story here.
Mm-hmm.
Like, of course, like her backstory of having cancer, being immunocompromised. Like, this was something that I'm so happy like she was able to tell, because it's personal horror. And the way that she told it is like what you don't want to see when you're going through treatment. And with the whole like chemo diary, I was like, oh, that hits so hard. Like, even though of course I
wish they had cut out the music and we had heard her actually read from the chemo diary. That's the one critique I have of the production, not of Hoso, because we saw her reading.
Yes.
Why not show that?
And I think that's what would have made like, and there's a way to keep music while someone's speaking to even like build up the emotion. I think that was such a miss for this. I mean, and again, this look is incredible. This is an amazing look. But if they had added that too, that would have been like a holy shit, this is wow. But I think maybe knowing the outcome, that had they had that, then the outcome, and again, I am very, very pleased with the outcome as well. But I think had they put that aspect in this floor show, the other outcome wouldn't have made sense.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll be the negative.
Oh my gosh,
I'm gonna
let's
do
hear
it.
it.
I do agree with the Boulets in the sense that Hoso didn't need the multiple faces for this. I feel like there should have, because they got to explain their horror look. I wish if Hoso was going to do the multiple faces, mentioned like why they're necessary, because while they look really cool and like the prosthetic is stunning, I don't feel like it adds too much to the story. And I feel like this was such a story-driven performance, which is why I also agree that they screwed Hoso over by playing that music over their Hoso's spoken word. That's when I knew Hoso wasn't winning. That was the moment right there. Because if they would have given Hoso the chance to do spoken word and actually tell their story and the audience got to connect, there's no way the Boulets could not have crowned Hoso. The second thing is when she talks about chemo, I honestly wish she came out bald. I wish she didn't wear or have any hair at all, because that's a huge thing of chemotherapy. I wish Hoso came out completely like in a bald cap, the one face, the blood and the syringes, and like really just looked like they were struggling to survive, because that's truthfully scary. And I think they did that with their body, but I think they did too much with the prosthetics and the wig, and it takes away from the genuine like performance. Granted, production really took away the high moment of it by not allowing her to speak from the diary, or at least letting us hear it. I love that she takes a hospital gown or a hospital and dress and makes it into this gown, because I think the outfit is stunning. I think the makeup is stunning. I think the syringes look so good. Like everything looks good, but I think if it was edited just a little bit more, this would have been my favorite of the night.
Yeah.
When you mentioned the ball
comment,
sorry.
Go ahead, Brandon, because I was also gonna talk about it.
Yeah, like when you mentioned the bald thing, I was like, oh, that could have been much more elevated with the added tumors too. Of course, like trying to think about this, I was like, oh, I never thought about it that way. So I will agree on that.
I'm gonna play slightly devil's advocate, because I do agree with you, Natalia, and I mean no disrespect by saying this, because like I have multiple family members who have passed from cancer. But my thing, if she had come out bald, would the Boulets have thought that was too stereotypical of a cancer patient? And then would she have gotten that critique? That's kind of where I'm going. That was the first thing I thought of.
I don't think so, honestly. I think because if Hoso would have come out in these white contacts, one face, bald, and really sold the performance, I don't think they would have seen the stereotype. No, I understand exactly where you're coming from with this. Like, if, perfect example, if Dahli was going to be like, I'm playing a cancer patient and Dahli's always bald and wearing like white contacts, they would have been like, okay, maybe Dahli, like this is your drag, I get that, but you are doing exactly like what I would consider. But I think if Hoso did it, it would be different because we've seen such a variety from Hoso. I don't think they'd be like, oh, Hoso went bald. Like, I think they'd be like, oh, Hoso actually like went bald, put on a bald cap for this, and was like, no, that's like a minor critique. This is still, to me, the best horror of the night. But I do think if there was just a slight bit more editing, I think that would have been that. And then also not production playing music over their spoken word, because that was kind of disrespectful, honestly.
And we'll talk about it, the last Filth look, which is actually going to be the first one we talk about because it's alphabetical, they went silent with the music. And I noticed the musicality of this finale was something that I noticed very distinctly. And I noticed it with this moment, and I noticed it with Dahli's Filth, and I noticed it at the very end during critiques. And Natalia and I were talking about it, and I'll bring it up when we talk about their final critiques.
That's how you knew. That's how you knew who won.
Absolutely.
With the music in the back.
I watch so much reality TV that I pay attention to the editing more than the actual like competition aspect of everything. And so like I noticed it immediately. It was the first thing I noticed. But I wish we could talk about Hoso's horror all day long. Unfortunately, we cannot. We got to move on to Saint's horror, which I'm going to pull up the tweet again because I don't remember the exact reference. According to Saint on Twitter, this was the tooth fairy here in the horror look was the reason the clown couldn't speak. So there's your connection.
I really liked the would it be considered a prosthetic?
Yeah.
The mouthpiece. I loved the mouthpiece here, and I loved the hair here. Again, I feel like I didn't get to see the dress super well, but obviously like the focal point is the mouthpiece. And I really liked it, so.
She gave good head. I'm just going to say it, like her head was like stunning. I feel like this is where Saint needed to step up performance. I feel like it would have been iconic if she pulled a full Victoria Elizabeth Black and had someone laying in a chair and was literally pulling out teeth. Or did something where it was like more Tooth Fairy-esque. Because like, while the look is amazing, this is where performance needed to be higher to get a better story.
Or like a kid in the bed and like pliers and like ripping the teeth out.
Yes.
That would have been real twisted.
I would have been like, oh shit.
Or even get like a realistic life-size like doll. Like, because obviously in COVID, it was going to be really hard for them to do anything similar to like prior looks when like Vander walked down in their glamour look with a literal like human pup. Like that's going to be difficult to do in these times. And so even if it had been a doll and you're pulling it out of a doll, I feel like that even would have sold the story a little bit more for me.
That would have been really cool.
Brandon, what you got?
You took all the words out of my mouth, honestly.
Did I take the teeth out of your mouth, or did Saint do that?
I was waiting for that. But y'all, like that's
the one thing I will say. Oh, go ahead. You go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, you're good. Again, I was impressed by like, of course, the face focal point. Natalia said, the performance needed to be sold here because like there wasn't much performance But again, I do see like the whole face and everything. I was like, that is horror there. But again, we need to see much more like. Oh, not the echo. But yeah.
So there was one thing that. Oh God, sorry.
I'm done.
Okay, are you sure?
Yes.
Okay, great. So there was one thing that pulled me out of the fantasy, and I say this every time I've seen it on a drag program, and I've seen it like 4 times on a drag program this year. Most recently with Isis Couture, because you can fully recognize what the mouthpiece, like the foundational piece of the mouthpiece is, and it's from that one game where you have to talk with your mouth open, and it just pulls me out of the fantasy every damn time I see it. It happened with Saint. It happened with Isis Couture on Canada's Drag Race. Like every time it pulls me out of the fantasy and I can't get over it. Like yeah.
Also, I just like want to know what she was injecting into her mouth, like the syringe. To me, that made no sense. Like it was like one of those things where I was like, "Are you trying to like sedate yourself?"
I was gonna say, is it like a thing?
It's like at the dentist, they put needles in your mouth to numb the mouth.
Yeah, but like she's the tooth fairy,
But
so
why
why
is
is
she
she doing it to herself? Yeah, like that was my thing. Like it was very much like
Maybe
it made no
good.
sense. No, maybe she likes being high. Yeah. Okay. This was
Yeah. From one look to another look. Miss Beaver.
She should have came out as a beaver, and that would have been scarier than this.
No,
wait. Could you imagine horror beaver?
I'm gonna say this is one of the looks that and I don't say this in like a disrespectful way. You know that you always have the looks that you like actually remember from the last floor show. This with the peeling of the face is one that I actually remember and think back and be like, wow, she actually did pretty good on this one. Like I didn't like how she did it twice. Like I didn't like how she did it in this one and then also in Filth. But this was, I was like, oh my, what is she doing? Like I thought I liked this. I did like it.
I have 2 complaints about this. My first one is I think we've learned what Sigourney's hairstyle is. She loves the big like updo because she gave it for the Bride of Frankenstein. She gave it for her glamour look. My second complaint about this is like to me it didn't tell a story, but also when I see this look, I think of Landon from last season during the hospital challenge and how Landon literally did everything and anything possible. And to me, this just felt like, oh, I need a glamour or a horror look. So like, I was just like, I was not feeling it. Like, I was like, Dexter's Laboratory is scarier than this. Like, it was just not for me. Like, yeah.
Well, I think it was just trying to take a different approach. Like you're not you see the look before the face gets ripped off and you're like, huh? How is this horror? Like this makes no sense. But then the surprising aspect of being like, wait, what is happening with the face right now? I think that's kind of it was supposed to take you off guard. And it did for me. So I appreciated it.
I think the concept for me, like again, we see evil scientists, like, but I think what I think kind of fell short is it wasn't, I guess, evil enough. Like if I don't know if, like what production would have done to like make the lighting make it look like lightning storm, like you see in those movies, like the maniacal laugh, lightning storm, like that instance. Like maybe that could have been, I guess, horror, but to me this is still like horror still meets glamour, and what glamour is what Sigourney is. Like that's how I see it as.
Yeah, definitely.
Meh. No, so what I think would have improved this look is she's going for like mad scientist, almost like Frankenstein-ish situation, what I would have loved is if she had had pre-made prosthetic pieces that looked like animal skin or looked like human skin, and after ripping off her own skin, putting that skin on. That would have been fucking horror. This was not horror. This was glamour. And I'm mad about it because I love Sigourney.
I think what also would have helped. No, I think what also would have helped is when she did her reveal, I wish skin was peeling off on her legs or like her arms.
The whole body.
The whole body. I think that because it kind of took me out of it because she did just the face and then her legs had nothing and her arms had nothing and she took off a glove and it had nothing. Like if it was all over the body versus just the face, that would have helped a lot more.
Hell, do a bald cap under the wig, do a wig reveal, and then rip the skin off of your head. Like, that would have been better. Like, it felt like, for me, all of Sigourney's looks, and we'll talk about her Filth look, I felt like all of her looks were at 60%. And I understand that she had outlying factors going into it. I don't want to, excuse her because of that. But it feels like everything was half-baked. And everything just needed to be elevated a little bit more than what she did.
Or if she was going to go for this campy approach for horror, take it to the extreme. Because, I feel like that's what she was going more towards is, I would have loved to see her do some, Ash versus Evil Dead meets Mad Scientist kind of, kooky, crazy, thing. I just felt like it was it was meh, it was simple, and it was safe for her.
I think what I will say after seeing Sigourney's final floor shows, plural, whatever, all the three of them, I think Sigourney coming back for an All-Stars when that happens, I think is going to fucking kill the final floor show. I think coming into this, it's so hard to know. It's so hard to know what to bring at times. I'm sure. Yeah. I don't know, but I am sure that it's so hard to know. But I think being able to have this, I think for an All-Star, Sigourney would be literally unstoppable when in a final floor show. I think.
Yeah. Because I genuinely would have loved to see what the horror version of the Sigourney Beaver character was. And I understand that copyright exists, but I almost wish she had done a horror version of a Sigourney Weaver character. I don't know which one, but if that's your namesake, and if it's allowed with copyright things, I would have loved some Sigourney Weaver reference at all. And that's also just because I'm a big fan of Sigourney Weaver. So any Sigourney Weaver reference would have been great for me. But I agree with you.
She just gives me a succubus vibe. I feel like she would be a phenomenal succubus because it's very sexy, it's very body showing. I feel like she could have done something with that as her horror look. Given us almost kind of how Zavaleta did the Exorcisters with the wings, giving us a full body. I get that vibe from her. I feel like she could have gone very sexy horror and did a black updo the way she did and had a dominatrix almost esque outfit with a whip or some sort of claw or very something
dominatrix gone too far almost.
Yes.
Oh,
and she has a whiplash on her body, she had just been doing it and she smacked herself too hard. I feel like that would have been amazing because that shows off her sexiness. It would have given them a little bit of glamour, but they would have been oh shit. I just don't feel like Sigourney did. I feel like she was at 60%, so I kind of agree. But I do understand where you're coming from, Audrey, in the sense we don't know what they think they have to expect. It's such an open-ended grand finale every season that like, yeah.
Before we move on to Filth, I wanted to give this at the beginning and then I forgot. I'm going to give a trigger warning before we dive into Filth because 3 of these 4 looks are like really fucking filthy. And then there was Sigourney. So just giving the trigger warning now. Some of this stuff is not PC. It's a conversation we're going to have because it was presented to us on this reality competition show. But I want to give that before we dive in, especially with the first look that we're going to talk about.
Can we rank the horror looks really quick?
We absolutely can.
Okay. I guess I'll go first.
Okay, that's fine.
So mine would be Hoso, Dahli, Sigourney, then Saint.
This is kind of hard.
The horror category was probably the hardest one.
Yeah, same. Hoso is number 1 for me.
Yeah.
I think Dahli, Saint, and Sigourney were all very just subpar. But I'm giving it to like...
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I'm honestly, Hoso is number 1, and I think I'm going to put all 3 of them in a tie for last. Not second, but last.
Yeah, coming out of horror, it's very Hoso wins horror. And then yeah. It's so hard with the other 3 to know because there are specific parts that I really, really like about each one, but I don't know if I can say, oh, that one pushes that ahead of the other part that I really like from this, Hoso's was
I guess if I were to rank, it would for me be Hoso, Saint, Sigourney, Dahli. That would have been me.
I think I have to agree with you, Brandon. I think I agree with that.
I'm going to amend mine because I'm going to force myself to rank them. Despite everything I just said, I think mine is actually going to be Hoso, Sigourney, because I thought the look was the best of the 3. And that's my justification. Like the look itself, beyond the horror aspect, I think was the best. Then Dahli, then Saint.
Okay. Yeah. So we're all different for this one.
I was going to say, this one's a variety, but we all can agree Hoso wins horror without a doubt.
Absolutely.
Yes.
No questions asked. But yes, again, trigger warning. We're about to dive into some interesting topics that I'm interested to talk about with this group. But
I'm actually going to use the bathroom quick, so hold on.
You're good. Well, we're going to have a lot to talk about with Dahli's Filth, so don't worry. We'll be here for a while. But yeah, so we're going to start with Dahli's Filth, which was the first, or not the first, which was the last Filth look shown eventually when it decides to flip over, because again, I have the worst internet quality in the world. Even though I'm sitting a foot away from my router, but it's fine. This was a lot.
I'll go first because I love Dahli. This was my favorite of the night. Out of all 12 of them, this was my favorite. I will give some critiques to it as well. I'm not just going to boost it. Dahli's character, like when Dahli said, my goal of my filth look is to make you feel filthy. I have seen a guy like this in like the gay community. I've seen a guy like this try to grope me. This is what scares me. Honestly, this gave me horror, but it also made me feel like I was just there for their mute. Like everything about this to me was perfect, except 2 things. One, we saw this character already from Dahli.
Yeah.
In a different sense. When we look at the Nosferatu beach party, their character was that creep hiding behind the surfboard. So that like didn't excite me as much. The second part is the clown reference, with the last challenge having been clowns. So it takes away from the excitement that you're choosing this kind of creepy clown when you've portrayed two of these characters in different categories. However, I think this as the performance, while Hoso's was great and production kind of taking away the most meaningful moment of it, they really were like, you need to actually look at Dahli's. And that's why I ate into it. And so that's why Dahli's Filth was my favorite of the night.
With Dahli's, like, I benefited from the Boulet's explanation from it, because how they described like how it made us feel filthy of like not being able to take our eyes off of it, and like how that like reflects on us. That's what helped click for me more, of being like, oh shit, yeah, that's right, yeah, holy shit. But watching it, it's clear, you know, like the filth aspect of it is clear. But I think what helped translate it more for me was the explanation after the fact. So that's just why I think Hoso's takes it for me, and Filth over Dahli's. But I mean, with these two, like, it's so neck and neck with these two, because obviously the explanation helped so much of being like, oh my god, like, you know, let me take a second look at myself now after this one. But yeah, I agree with everything you're saying also, though.
This was just a lot for me, because I was like, what is going on? And then I was just like, oh, that's what it is. Yeah. Especially at the very end. I was like, especially because like when they told the story that way, I was just like, now I see where this is going.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's interesting for me. And this isn't something I've ever like talked about on a podcast, but I'm also like not ashamed to talk about it. I've had my instances with suicide or attempting suicide. And I know a lot of people that have committed suicide. And I knew someone who did get off on the idea of suicide. They are no longer with us because of that. So for me, this was a really interesting floor show, and I kind of just sat there. I sat with my roommate not knowing any of this. And then I had to pause it because I was having such a visceral reaction, because he was genuinely like, are you okay? And so we had to I paused it for like 10 minutes so I could explain all of this to him. And he understood it. And obviously for like the regular person, like it has an impact. For someone that like has had the experiences that I've had, it was just even more so impactful in a way that it's honestly really hard to verbalize. Ooh, we're not gonna cry. We're not gonna do that. Yeah, it was beautifully done in a way that still everything about it was what they wanted to portray. And they, for me, like, I understand, Natalia, your critiques of like, we just saw this character twice over. For me, it almost gives me a little bit of like the Saint, I don't want to say complex because that's the wrong word, like the Saint dilemma, I guess I'll call it, where all of Saint's looks kind of connect together. I saw this connecting to those two characters being in that universe. Yeah, this was, especially seeing this last, was incredibly impactful. Yeah, this was, I still put Hoso's Horror over this for my favorite look overall, but it's like, it's neck and neck right there, because this was just done so perfectly to what they wanted to show.
Yeah. I think, kind of going off what you said, Audrey, like about the judges kind of, and the way they explained it helped to portray it. I think there are only two looks ever that I've seen on Dragula that I have wanted to close my eyes and couldn't. One of them was this, and then the other one was Bitch Pudding's Filth. but they took it in very different directions where bitch was just, I want to be dirty, like I want to be a little pig, and Dahli was like, I want to be the creepy pig. Like they both want to be pigs, but I think another thing to point out is like the reason Hoso and Dahli's filth looks were so good is they weren't afraid to take taboo topics. And I feel like that's like a big thing to note in this is like both of them took two topics you don't want to talk about, you don't want to hear about. And they were like, no, we're doing it. And you're going to watch this. And it was like my top three, if we're doing a top three, it would go Dahli's filth, Hoso's horror, Hoso's filth in that order. Because they like were just so magnetic to watching. Not that I wanted to connect with them, but I just could not take my eyes off of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
This had to be where Dahli like pushed themselves over the winner line. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is what, like, this was the moment where it was like, well, there we have it. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I mean,
bury that.
I mean, I'm going to talk about my conspiracy theory again, which I talked about in the Last Supper recap. I don't think there's anything Hoso could have done more to win.
No.
I think this season was written for Dahli to win. Am I mad about that? No. Because they backed it up with, I would not say, even though we didn't love Dahli's horror, I cannot say that Dahli had a bad performance at all on season 4. Not at all. Every single performance was fantastic or perfect. Like and like whatever the spectrum is between fantastic and perfect is where they ended up every single episode. Even the one time they were up for extermination, I still thought they were good. And that episode for me, we didn't really touch on it in our Last Supper. That episode for me felt like, okay, well, we have to put Dahli up for extermination once, the same way they had to put Vander up for extermination once. And that's what it felt like to me. But yeah, so do we have any more thoughts on Dahli? Right? Should we move to... Oh, go ahead, Natalia. Sorry.
No, it was same with Landon. Didn't they have to put Landon up once?
I think Landon fell in the bottom.
Either way. It was, I agree. I think there were a lot of signs pointing to Dahli winning in this finale, and they made it pretty clear. I think when Dahli explained their filth and Drag Morta was like, I've been waiting for someone to do filth like this. I think that was a clear indicator of, okay, if Dahli delivers on filth, Dahli gets the win. But no, Logan's conspiracy theory, to go a little bit more in depth with it, was Saint won Resurrection for Dahli to come and win season 4.
Yeah.
Like, and I can see that very much so. Like, Saint winning Resurrection made so much sense. It gave him a good redemption. They get on the show and they do well. They didn't do bad. But then you have someone like Dahli who everyone thought was going to win Resurrection, hands down, without a doubt. That was my pick to win Resurrection. And then they didn't win. And then they had the little clip of them actually being revived to come back into season 4. Like Logan said, I think season 4 was meant for Dahli to win.
I will say I didn't have the thought that Dahli was meant to win Resurrection. When Saint won, I was like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, for sure. So I don't know if I agree entirely on that part of it. Mm-hmm. But I mean, the ghost look from Saint on Resurrection, it's like, how can you top that? But that's the one thing I will say that I don't agree completely with that. But I do agree that coming into the finale, Dahli would have had to just stand on the stage to not win. You know, like would have had to. It was Dahli's to lose coming into the finale for sure.
I do have like a technical question, I guess, for the group. Did we all watch Resurrection like when it happened live, or did we watch it later?
I watched it live.
Later.
Okay, because what I was gonna say to Audrey's point is when the cast was announced for Resurrection, I remember being on Twitter and I did not see a single person that didn't say Dahli for the win before the episode had even come out. Because most people genuinely, and this is no shade to Saint, but most people were like, Saint who?
Yeah.
Mostly because they were referred to by a similar but different name on season 3.
Yeah.
Because on season 3 they were Saint Lucia. And then coming back as Saint, most people were like, who is this? And then Saint came in and absolutely destroyed Resurrection. Whereas most people were like, oh my God, Dahli getting their redemption. And so that's kind of the mindset that I had and still have. But yeah, I was just curious because I didn't know any of you when Resurrection came out. But it's fine. Okay. We kind of, some of us already touched on Hoso's Filth. I don't want to be the first one to start because there are 2 people here with closer experiences to this than me. So I will yield the floor to you.
Brandon, you can go first.
Okay. All right. So when I saw this look, when Hoso brought up all this, like every single stereotype you can think of, let me tell you, like, this won me over immediately because this really like struck a chord with me because again, like the main thing I saw was of course the teeth, the dog, the umbrella. Well, the umbrella was, I think, was intended, so but everything was intended obviously, but everything that was brought up in here, like I was really like, you really took everything out of my mouth and say like this is like part of the reason why like some of the Asian community is not respected. I was like, I remember watching, like, I think I almost teared up when I like was watching it the first time because I was like, this was something that needed to be highlighted, especially with what's been going on like with the past year and a half. Like it just shows like how this is never brought up like in at all because like we hardly ever see the representation Asians deserve on television, period. And it just really, I was just really glad to see this, and I'm glad that Hoso just took it to where like it needed to be.
No, I completely agree. I think for me, and I'm gonna own up to privilege here, like I am white passing. And that makes it a lot easier for me to not have to acknowledge stuff like this. And that sounds terrible to say, but it's the honest truth. Like I've never been affected by Asian hate as like my mom has, or like my grandma has even been, especially during this time. Um, and watching this floor show, like it was, I don't even know like the words to like describe it. Like it did get me actually emotional, and it wasn't a feeling of anger. It was more of like a feeling of remorse for all the people that do have to experience this. Because like people joke with my mom all the time about like, because she has like a ton of dogs and she loves dogs. Like she's a huge animal person, and they're like, why do you keep all these dogs? Like, are you just waiting to cook them? And like it hits close to home because like like I said earlier about Dahli's, like Hoso and Dahli took two taboo topics and explained the negative like experiences behind it. And I think Hoso's like was done in such a way that like I respect as a drag performer, because like I know personally I'm not strong enough to do something that Hoso just did. Like Hoso did it. And that's what really sucks about this season is like Hoso really brought it in this finale. Hoso brought it in all three categories. And like as an Asian performer, it feels like it's so much harder to just get a little bit of respect or just to get an Asian winner in an American streamed show. Especially like they have to create shows like Thailand, Drag Race Philippines to highlight Asian winners. And so like that's where it's like extremely frustrating, because like this was like it was done amazing. And like I rewatched it today while I was getting ready, and I was like, writing Oriental across your chest and like being called that is offensive, and people still don't realize that to this day. Everything about it was just beautiful.
Yeah, this was definitely my, like, the look that you take away from the season and like you always think back to it. Like, this is that for me. It was like magnetic in a way of being like you just could not take your eyes off of the performance, everything that they were highlighting. Hoso's Filth look was by like far and away the winner, I think, of the whole season. Look, I loved this floor show. Loved it.
This, I mean, obviously, I will never understand what it is like to experience that kind of hate. My roommate does. He's from India. We've had conversations. This was where he had a palpable reaction, and I could tell, because similarly but different, he's experienced a lot of hate based on where he's from, and that just point blank should not be the case. And it's why I really appreciate having both of you, Brandon and Natalia, here to talk about this, because Audrey and I, presumably, Audrey, I don't want to assume your nationality, but presumably we will not ever understand what this is like. And it not that I wasn't an ally for all of the people, that because everyone deserves to be treated equally, but it makes me feel even more so like I need to be even more of an ally for my friends that are of Asian descent and all of that. This empowered me more than anything. That's the thing that I'm taking away from it, is just like I need to be doing even more than I already am.
And especially, of course, as a white person, seeing this and seeing everything that they touch on, like having moments where you're like, oh wait, I remember in second grade when someone would start saying the thing about Asian people eating dogs, like just thinking about those things and being like you were saying, like empowering you to be like, holy shit, like what have I been doing, you know? And just like thinking of like, oh, well, in the Jersey Shore one season, this guy still used the word Oriental. Like it just like makes you just be like, damn, like, yeah. It's very, makes you look in the mirror, definitely.
We're doing things to promote these communities, but like, what can we do even more than we're already doing?
Yeah, that's something I would say is like, I feel like a lot of people, especially like people of color on TV shows, feel obligated that they have to own their race and like advertise it for everything that it is. And I don't mean that in like a negative way by any means, but like it's almost like, especially in drag competitions, you have to justify your race before your drag. And I feel like in situations like this where Hoso is like, no, my race is very close with my drag, and that's why I'm going to show you 3 looks in my finale that all embody who I am as a drag performer. I'm not going to wear these clothes because they don't mean anything to me. Like, I'm going to wear things that, like, personally not only bring me joy, but also showcase, like, my art. Because, like, even when you look at Hoso's social medias, like, they will wear outfits like this. They don't wear this just to be on TV and promote their Asian descent. Like, this is Hoso Teratoma. And I, like, it was so beautiful. Like, it really was. Yeah.
I even look at, like, well, obviously we'll be talking about it, but looking at season 14 of RuPaul's Drag Race and how there's not a single Asian queen on the season pisses me off. Why haven't I appreciate Canada for having Indigenous queens, but I know Indigenous queens exist in the US. Why have they not been cast if they're applying? Like I said before, my conspiracy theory, I don't think Hoso could have done anything else. But I think if you're judging this based solely on the final floor show, which we've seen before, has influenced who wins the season of Dragula. I think only one example, but it influenced. I think Hoso would have won the season hands down, no question. But again, I don't think Hoso was ever meant to win this season. I don't think Sigourney was ever meant to win this season. I don't think anyone other than Dahli was ever meant to win this season. Am I mad about that? No. But I am upset for someone like Hoso who literally put their essence as a human and what they've been through on that stage and didn't get that validation. I think from the fandom, absolutely. But from the Boulets, they didn't.
Yeah. And I think what makes it really hard, too, is fans are crazy. They're psychotic. Some of them are.
Yeah.
And they attack people for, like, for instance, Dahli's been getting a lot of hate recently because a lot of Hoso fans believe Hoso deserved to win. Do I think Hoso also deserved a chance to win? Absolutely, because this final grand finale was, to me, the best we've seen of Hoso's progression. But it's really hard to also see people tear down, like, Dahli in this situation. And it happens every season. Like, if your favorite doesn't win, like, so be it. Like, I think people have to just learn, like, you're allowed to have favorites, yes, but when you're willing to attack someone else, like, for this, it just makes it like people don't want to do drag. Like, people don't want to put their art out there on the line for a chance of not being your favorite. And then if they do well, you're pissed off. And I mean, we see it in reality television too. Like, it's not just in the drag community. We see it all around. Like, it's just, yeah.
And also, like, to circle back to, like, the winner thing, like, it's not the competitor's decision who wins. And so to be mad at, like, of course they wanted to win, but, like, they didn't decide to be the winners. So people being like, how could you? What are you doing? It's like, someone else picked this. Like, someone gave this to them. Like, it is their, you know.
Yeah.
That's what I never get. It's like.
Yeah, that annoys me a lot because, that annoys me a lot. Like, of course, there is one season of Big Brother. Of course, we're not going to talk about much of it, but I'll talk briefly. One season that there was one winner that was not deserved. And, of course, and obviously we can't really get mad about too much, but at the same time, like, that season was just plain awful. So, can't.
There's about 4 seasons that you could be talking about, my love. I think I know which one you're talking about.
I'm talking about season 21 specifically.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah, which one?
21.
21. The watermelon eating STI transmitter.
Yeah.
No.
Yes, I know who you're talking about.
But enough of that. Obviously, it's just like it just shows how like fans don't care, because it's like it really just seems like they really have like it to out like have it out for that person, especially when it comes to drag fans, period. Like it is a visceral, toxic environment, and it just shows how like people think it's like so deep, and when it's really not.
Yeah.
It's just a TV show. Like, come on. Like, this is not
If you're
your
gonna
life.
If you're gonna send hate to anyone, send hate to RuPaul. Even in this instance, not the Boulets. Send it to RuPaul.
Speaking
Or
of
even
RuPaul,
just
did
write
you guys...
it in a diary. Just write it in a diary. Don't send it to anyone. Just
That was fully a joke. Don't send hate to
Totally.
anyone.
Did you all see what Hoso got like in her email? She got an
Yes,
email
the
from
casting email
RuPaul's
for
Drag
season
Race
15.
for season 15.
so funny. So
She should
funny.
do it. I'm kidding.
Honestly, host up for season 15. I'm here for it.
It'd be a serve.
I would see that. But it was just like, this is not this shade.
Well, according to RuPaul,
So we're moving on.
Oh.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say Asian queens always either get eliminated in the first 4, they make it to the finale. There is no in between. So
I was gonna say the last time that an Asian person won a North American drag competition was 2011.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And
10
that's when the
years.
top 2 were both Asian.
Mhm.
I was going to say something, but I don't want to spoil for Brandon because I know Brandon doesn't like spoilers. Anyway, Saint,
don't.
Filth look. This is gross.
Very, very. Okay, so when I watched this, I was eating, and of course, I was just like, this
Oh,
was
yeah,
a
me
bad
too.
idea.
Me
I was like, this
too.
was a I was like, this was a bad idea. So literally, I had to move my food away from me before I could continue because I was just like, I was literally like literal filth, but more disgust than filth, in my opinion. I was like, like I don't know, like this was very well put together. I will say, I just was like, this was like too much for me.
It was definitely the most like conventionally disgusting filth vibe, you know, like eating dog shit. Well, I guess maybe it was cat shit. Was it
cat,
like
yeah.
in a
It was supposed to be
yeah,
cat
yeah.
shit.
There was
because
a
of the litter
There was a
box.
stuffed cat on stage.
Okay. This one
and
I was
so-
like, it was bad. Like gross
was
to look
the-
at because of
so-
the eating shit.
So I always hold in mind my favorite Dragula look of all time across, I'm still going to say, all 4 seasons. We already talked about it a little bit, is Bitch Puddin's Filth look. That is Dragula to a T for me.
Mhm.
And this was the closest to that definition of filth that we had on this finale. I thought this was absolutely Saint's strongest category, which I never would have thought going into the finale. And even the Boulets say, like, filth is the category that kind of defines the winner, because each winner has done such a definite and iconic filth look, even though I say that and I do not remember what Vander did for filth. It's going to come to me. I might have to look it up. There goes my screen share again. I hate everything. But yeah, and also for reference to, again, the tweet, Saint said that this character was the vampire from Resurrection before the vampire bite. So
Yeah.
for
And loved
context.
that look. Loved that look. That yeah.
I just love how the Boulets, and they do this with Sigourney too, they say that their filth look is more glamour than their glamour look, which I think is absolutely hilarious. I am going to be the bearer of bad news because that's me. I was really bored by this, And I think it's because it was very conventional for Filth. Like when I think of like eating something, like I feel like that's kind of been the go-to for Filth, is like you need to eat something to feel filthy. Like I think of James Majesty's look of the hot dog. And like I'm like, okay, like that was just Like I think of like anything that like was filth that people remember as eating something. And I'm not including Hosos in this because Hosos was very performance based and the eating was the smallest little portion of it. I don't know. Like I feel like Saint could have just done more instead of just ate cat shit. Like it was, don't get me wrong, like it was filthy, but like I feel like there's so many more things that Saint could have done with like how like artistic they are on stage that could have made it like maybe she takes the cat shit and makes a painting and is eating it and like rubs it all over her body instead of just her face. And maybe like she has like a reveal with like something that makes like she has like it in her pockets. Like she has something where she's like storing it. Like just something more than just like taking the container and eating it. But also she was against Dahli and Hoso. And so like anything compared to them is already going to look a little bit worse.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to think of oh, sorry.
You can go first because I didn't really have any thoughts on it. Any other thoughts on it?
I was just gonna say I'm trying to think of like where in the Saintoverse she could have pulled from for this. Like I can't really think. Maybe the ghost look? Like, who was the ghost person before they became the ghost? I don't know. Like, I just don't know where else. If she's going to connect all of her looks together, this made the most sense. But also...
what if she did something with the cow? From the like cowboy like alien space where she like shrank from a milk udder and like she could have done something from that.
She cannibalizes herself. Now that would have been fucking scary.
Yeah, that would have actually.
Also, she played Leatherface in the first episode. Leatherface is a filthy boy. Like there were like more things. Don't get me wrong, like it was beautiful, like, and it was Saint's best category. I completely agree with you, Audrey. Like that was Saint's like shining moment of the night. I think it's just really hard because she didn't know what she was going to be going up against in that category. But I still think she could have done just a little bit more.
Yeah. We'll move on to the last one, which we're not going to have screen share for because I forgot to put it in my slideshow.
Oh,
lovely.
This, just to
but it's also like not a great look. Sigourney's Filth, the popping of the zits, and where she looked more glamorous than her glamour look.
I loved that robe. It was so pretty.
It was really pretty. I'm trying to look it up on Instagram so I can remember it.
Oh, I remember now. Like, I guess in a sense because of how filthy like acne can be. Like, I guess like I can see where like that was coming from, but again, like the Boulet Brothers said, like it wasn't really filth.
It also didn't look like acne. That was my biggest complaint. Like the pus and like all of it, it was clear. Like, and so I was like,
she was melting.
It looked like she was melting. It looked like she had jelly on her face. Like it was like, or like a gel versus like acne.
And she had done this the category prior, messing with the face. That was my thing. I was texting my sister while I was watching it, and I was like, because again, like I said in the last category, I actually really liked the face peeling part. But then when I saw it again, I was like, couldn't have been anything different. Like, couldn't have done, or at least like taken one out, and because I liked that aspect. But seeing it twice, I was like,
yeah.
I just think like there was no pus. She could have been grosser. She just could have been filthier.
I wanted it to be all over her body. The same way the same way I wanted like the skin peeling to be all over her body. I wanted her to be eating it, which again, that's a logistical sort of thing where I don't know if that would have been non-toxic, so I understand that. But like, then just make it, I don't know, with like thickened corn syrup. I don't know. Like, I wish they would just, again, with Sigourney, I think in all three categories, she was just at 60%, and I just wanted it to be that little bit to where you're hitting 90, 100, 110. Because that's where Dahli and Hoso were.
If she wanted to do like Filth, like super, and of course, like we've spoken about how like with COVID, it's a little harder, but to have it be on someone else, like popping someone else's zits and like their skin extremities,
that would have been,
and then eating that would have been more filthier, I guess, Oh, that's
like
I can't even think about it. It's so gross.
I think of it with corn syrup, because it's very easy to make a prosthetic, fill it with like green food color dyed corn syrup, which probably would have been like a loose pus situation, but I think it would have come across still like the way that she wanted this to. This is really gross to talk about, sorry, but like on someone else, seeing that happen, I think that would have conveyed, or even again, like I said with Saints Horror, even like a doll of someone else. Put all these prosthetics on a doll and then pop them and eat them. Like, that would have been filthy for me.
Yeah, because it kind of looked like she just had like Astroglide all over her face. Like she was just covered in a bunch of lube is what it looked like. Because like there was just nothing, like it wasn't, it just, like it wasn't filthy to me.
That's an angle to take.
She could have done a golden shower filthy. She could have done something else. Like it just wasn't filthy.
Yeah, because like when I thought about this, I was just like, what can be filth, but not like, I guess, not filth in a way? I guess that was like what Sigourney was, because like, again,
filth,
we know how
but still glamour.
Yeah, basically. Because again, like again, we know how much acne can be bad. Obviously, I still have acne, so it's just like like most of us, because again, stress is real. So
Totally.
And it's like so I guess what really like dropped the ball for Sigourney for that specifically was, I guess, again, could have, like you said, it could have gone more, because like you said, 60%. I thought it was gonna be a bit more disgusting. Like if I would have thought like more like, I guess, in a way, Dr. Pimple Popper, but I guess much more more to this. Because like I've seen more disgusting things on Dr. Pimple Popper than that.
You want to know what would have been really good for Sigourney? I think if Sigourney did something with cockroaches, kind of like the extermination she was in with Jade.
Ooh,
because like that would have been like Boulet's like, I conquered that extermination and now I'm gonna eat a bunch of cockroaches. And like if I were to go on Dragula, because I hate bugs, my filth look would embody me being in a bathtub full of like insects, worms, bugs, like all these dead things, and just like playing with them, being super like campy and playful, because like that's a huge fear of mine. I just feel like with filth and horror, you need to take what scares you and embody that. And I feel like that's what like Hoso and Dahli, Hoso specifically, did so well with, is she took what scared her in life, in all of her looks, and embodied that. And so
I just thought of something else on a completely completely like 180 sort of thing. I think if with Sigourney especially being an AFAB performer, and again, I will never understand what it's like to be like catcalled as a woman. Audrey, you may understand, and you probably do, what it's like to get like unwanted attention from men. But I almost wish she had leaned into that, a la Landon's Filth look, where he like embodied everything. Like he was the embodiment of like a gross man. I almost wish, I don't necessarily know how she would have done it, but I wish she had taken the concept of like men over sexualizing women. And if she had done something along those lines, that would have made a lot more sense for me for her character. Because if her character is high femme, high glamour, then Filth in that regard, at least in the way that I'm looking at her character, Filth would be like making it like something along those lines, if that makes sense. Like that makes a little bit more sense in my perception of Sigourney's universe. Audrey, I don't know if you specifically have any like critiques on that, but that I think would be like a more Sigourney approach.
The one thing that I thought that could have been real fucked up is like a play on like abortion, of like people like who will stand outside of clinics and like make people feel like shit. That's the thing that I thought of, would be like, damn, that would be fucked up. Like after the fact of like, oh, well, what could they have done different? That's what I thought of. But
okay.
But yours is good too.
Yeah. I think that both of those are like things that should be discussed on television more. So definitely I think either way, that would have been good. But yeah. So floor shows happened. They did. I also forgot to pull the crowning looks because I'm a mess of a human.
Can we talk about Saint's crowning look? That took it away for me. I was like, damn, anyone can say what they want about Saint, but the level, I think, of fashion that Saint has brought to Dragula is like
incredible.
There's no comparison. That's all I remember from the crowning. Well, obviously, you know, the beautiful, like, I love the blood coming down aspect, but like look-wise, Saints is the only one I remember.
Well, Dahli's I remember because of them winning and there's blood everywhere. Yeah. But again, unfortunately, like it's a like chest out, same makeup. Like that's what I got from Saint's crowning, or not from Saint's, from Dahli's crowning look. Not that it was a bad look, but again, it's just everything we've seen. Saint's look, where the fuck did that come from?
Yeah,
like that was stunning.
And I'm gonna be the person to compare queens for a second, but like the hair Saint was wearing gave me very Taste vibes from All Stars 2 Memories lip sync, and like I feel like that's something that would be in like Taste's closet, but Saint doing it and rocking out with cock out, like that's not like Saint. No, UK 2.
UK 2.
Yeah, I don't know what I said.
They're all blending together.
The two. I've got them pulled up. Sigourney looked like she wore the eye patch with this really elegant gown, which is more glamorous than her glamour look. Anyways,
she should have worn that for her glamour look.
Yeah. It gave me like very like evil, like Austin. If Austin Powers and Dr. Evil. If Dr. Evil had a wife, that was it.
Mm-hmm.
And then Hoso
I was going to say
Bond
villain.
Oh, Bond villain, yeah. Hoso's was a very stunning like kimono that was just very classic and like beautiful.
Very good. Again.
I just had an epiphany. Dahli's look is the bottom half of Abora's look from season 2, where she played the gigantic circus thingy from the Rock Challenge.
Stop it right now.
Look at it.
I know.
She said, Abora, I need only the bottom half of this dress you will never wear again.
Because now it's covered in blood.
With a black corset.
Yeah. I one thing I noticed logistically about the winner reveal was that it made it very obvious to me that they filmed all 4 endings. Because once you see Dahli in the front and you get the wide shot of the boulets with everyone else, after the blood drops, you don't see anyone else. And so I'm fully convinced that they were like, the winner is Saint, walk up. Okay, now walk back. The winner is Dahli. Okay, walk up. Okay, walk back. The winner is Sigourney Beaver. Walk up, walk back. The winner is Hoso. Walk up, walk back. Then you all get drenched in blood.
Not only that, but like Dahli's reaction when they won.
It gave me, what it gave me, and this might be recency bias, but it gave me the same reaction that Crystal Versace had winning UK3. She was like, like, girl, come on.
Yeah, like it's like they basically were like, they could have done the 4 endings, or they said, we're gonna let you all know now, Dahli is winning. Dahli, you've won. Okay, now we're going to actually announce that Dahli won on camera. And now you all have to pretend like Dahli just won and found out. And Dahli was just kind of like, yeah, like, thank you. Like, I'm gonna walk up.
I thought Hoso's reaction was really cute.
Hoso's was really
even
cute.
if they like did the 4 thing, that's like what I saw whenever Hoso just looked so excited. I was like, oh, that's so. We love the support.
Hoso is an international treasure. I was about to say national, but she doesn't live in the US. Hoso is an international treasure that
Obsessed.
deserves
Love.
more time in the spotlight, the same way that Coco Kane does.
All stars, all stars.
One thing I was surprised about, like, they didn't do like an actual crowning. Like, but didn't they do that in the past? I forgot if they did it or not.
I think it's just the blood.
Oh, like,
yeah, because like when they said that they get the crown, because like, when they said, because like before they announced the winner, there was like they did say that the winner is going to get a crown and scepter from Fierce Drag Jewels, which I was like, oh, they're also using that too. So I was just like, okay.
I mean, word.
So I was a bit surprised they didn't
say. I want to say Vander and Bitch both had a crown. I don't remember if Landon did.
I don't either.
I don't
think
either.
It's just blood.
Yeah, because like I did remember like the flowers, obviously, but I didn't see like the actual crowning. So I was like, did they not show that, or was that not intended for this?
Which makes me think again, they filmed at least more than 1 ending. We'll say that.
Okay.
Whether it was 2, whether it was 3, whether it was 4, unsure. But yeah.
If there was ever a reason to have an All Stars 4 ending, I think it would have been here.
Agreed, but again, my conspiracy theory is still very alive and active. Like, I don't think there was anything Hoso could have done. I think the only other person that maybe could have gotten the crown, unfortunately, given the circumstances, was Saint. And I just don't think Saint performed as well as what the Boulets were hoping, thus clearing the pathway for Dahli to win.
And I think it kind of goes back to like how people will say, just because you're a good drag queen doesn't mean you're good at Drag Race or Dragula. I think with Resurrection, it was such a different format than Dragula. And Saint was really able to be like so artistic with Resurrection. And again, like I think Saint did very well in season 4, obviously. Like one of my top 3 looks of the season is Saint. And so I think they did great. But I think Resurrection just fit, she fit the format better in Resurrection.
See, and I think another thing about Resurrection is they got to do it from the comfort of their own home. Mm-hmm. And they knew what resources were available in the time given. I mean, hence why, like, Victoria Elizabeth Black built 3 fucking sets. Like,
and still didn't win.
Like, and still didn't win. Granted, they basically said, "You're too good for us. You can't win right now."
No, Victoria was like, "Listen, I don't want to win this." Victoria was like, "I don't want to win this. I just want to go to All-Star."
Victoria said they didn't want to win.
Exactly. So,
but with that production value, like it's just like, oh, okay. So, do you need this money or not?
Then it begs the question: A, well, I guess A, do you need the money? But B, why wasn't her spot given to someone else who truly needed a redemption, a la, I'm gonna champion for them again, Yoska? Why was Yoska not in Resurrection?
Or I'll give you another one, Xochi Mochi.
Absolutely. Foxy Ajouet, Maxi Glamour. Why were these people not on Resurrection?
Meatball.
Meatball is beyond. Meatball is beyond.
Totally. I just love Meatball so much. I love Meatball.
Meatball is in my top 3. My top 3 favorite Dragula ghouls of all time are Kendra Onyx, Coco Kane, and Meatball. Like, those are my top 3. Hands down. Fun fact, Meatball follows me on Twitter.
Oh, nice.
There you go.
I, to this day, have a Meatball quote in my Twitter bio. And that's how he followed me. And I am grateful for it every single day I am alive. Speaking of top 3 favorite looks, Audrey, I did want to do our top 3 looks of the season. I have mine. I don't know if everyone prepared theirs, but I have mine so I can start. I don't mind. So this takes into account performance, look, sellability, because obviously a lot of the finale looks were amazing and spectacular. So my top 3 in no particular order, because I couldn't rank them, because I just physically couldn't. But my top 3 are Hoso's horror look, Dahli's Nosferatu look, because I still just find it so fun and dumb and stupid. And then obviously you knew there was gonna be a Coco Kane look in my top 3 because obviously, and I put her Morticia Addams, which I still think should have won the first episode.
There you go. I'll go next. So again, I Saint's vampire look.
Mm-hmm.
So fucking good. I literally
that was Nosferatu as well, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes. So good. Yeah. Obsessed. I think this is my favorite, look. My favorite look of the whole season. My another one was Hoso's. I don't remember what the businessman one.
Oh, the Exorcisters.
That was Exorcisters.
That was another one where you just could not look away because it was just so magnetic and fucked with your brain a little. And then Hoso's Filth, again, another one that was you just could not look away. It was just so good. Filth for obviously the final. Loved it. They were just all so good.
I'm not ready yet.
Okay. I'll go. So I tried not to pick any from the finale because the finale was great. And I knew it was going to be talked about a lot, obviously, because that's the theme of this episode. So my first one's going to be Astrid Aurelia's alien look. Mm-hmm. I digged it. Like, I saw that look and I was like, oh, that's who's winning. Like, it was like one of those things where I was like, okay. And don't get me wrong, I love Coco Kane. Coco Kane's Morticia was stunning. I loved the interpretation of it. But like Astrid's look was just, it was amazing. My second look would put, I had these and I just forgot them.
No.
Oh, okay. If this costume did not malfunction, it would probably be my number one. I
know
loved
where you're going.
Zavaletta's wings outfit from Exorcisters. Truthfully, I think Zavaletta deserved to win Exorcisters. I think that acting was genius. I actually like love vodka. No, I'm kidding. I thought it was a genius. And then obviously Mary Cherry's fish look. No, I'm kidding.
Ma'am, I can and will remove you from this stream.
No, my third one is Jade Jolie's reunion look.
Yes.
Like Jade and Bitter to me had the most beautiful reunion looks, and I loved it because they had this like stark contrast against each other because they both were like one was light, one was dark, and they've had this rivalry the entire time, and then it like came together. But that's the best I think Jade Jolie has ever looked on reality television. Anytime they have been on reality television. But like the finale looks like, obviously I could say like Dahli's Filth look I loved. Hoso's Glamour, Horror, and Filth look I loved. But I just didn't want to because I knew we were going to highlight
different. You wanted to be different.
You know.
You wanted to be different. I limited myself to only one for that reason.
Okay, so I had to look this up because I had to make sure it's like they were the correct ones. I have a top 3 and an honorable mention. My also one of my favorite looks was also Dahli's Nosferatu beach party. That was like I honestly thought that was gonna win, but
should have won.
Same.
Hoso's horror icon look.
Other mother.
Oh fuck!
Yes. Yeah.
Oh no!
Like once I saw that, I was sold. I was like, I knew I was gonna root for Hoso immediately. Like I knew from a fact, Hoso's horror icon look. I was like, please give me that. And then last but not least, I did mention this earlier. Sigourney's Monsters of Rock look. As Brie Antoinette kiss. Like that was like those three like were served to me. My honorable mention, surprisingly, actually, is Jade Jolie's Sarah Sanderson.
It's so good.
All of our faces were like, what? So
no, I love that look.
I'm going to be 100% real. I didn't get the reference at all at first. I didn't get it.
For that look, you didn't?
That was the only reference in horror icons I did not get.
Wait, on a different note, can I do an honorable mention even though I already did my top 3? Because I just thought of another look that's amazing.
Let's hear it.
My honorable mention is going to be Zava's Weird Wild West.
Yes.
That was good.
So good. I would almost do Zava and Dahli because they were in the same universe. Like, they both should have won.
That was my favorite Dahli week, I think. Dahli's look that week was my favorite of Dahli's throughout.
I mean, Dahli was just great. Hence why they won.
Yeah.
I mean, overall, it was like a great season. Like, it was really enjoyable to watch.
Wonderful.
I think Dragula is, and this, I hate to say this, but I feel like they are starting to become mainstream, and so they're trying to like portray it better to an audience versus having just like good TV. And I don't mean that in a weird way, but like there were a lot of things where production edited the clips to where it didn't give the full story. And we were waiting until the reunion and Last Supper to get a lot of things cleared up.
Well, I think also they had the fact of like they were all together after like once filming was over and they went home, like they all got to hang out. I think that's where we had so much disconnect in what like the behind the scenes aspects of things, like Bitter and Jade's little squabbles or whatever, things that were said at the house.
Yeah.
I think that's also kind of, I think going forward, they need to find a way to sequester better, maybe. Or show the incident in the house.
Or make a Dragula version of Untucked.
Well, isn't that what the cauldron is?
Which room? I don't fucking know. Like...
And that's technically what the cauldron is, but like it's just like 5 minutes, if that. Before here's my biggest complaint about the season. The exterminations look so rigged. Every extermination looked so rigged. Like, I'm sorry, you cannot tell me that in the second extermination, like Astrid did not do better than Bitter. Like the way they edited that, I don't know. And then the way they edited
her titties, that's why.
And then the way they edited the mechanical bull riding for Saint and Coco, nobody knew who stayed on longer than the other, and we all knew Coco was going home against Saint. The way the exterminations were edited needs to change.
What I will say, as a slight devil's advocate, because I do completely agree with you, if that were the case, then Mary wouldn't have gone home when she did, because when we found out the next episode that no one shocked Mary, that mama was not rigged. Because Mary would have gotten some shocks had they been rigging it, just to get Mary's reaction. But the entire time instead, she was Sigourney the whole time. So, well, that was Dragula. 2.5 hours later. Oh boy, we knew coming into this. If Natalia and I can do almost 2 hours by ourselves, we knew. We came prepared. Y'all watching the video, there will be timestamps in the description. Y'all will probably have already seen it. I don't want y'all to have to sit through a 2.5 hour episode, but thank you so much for joining us. Audrey, Brandon, y'all will be back, hopefully. And we appreciate you being on. Yes, our Twitters have been, rotating almost the whole time. So if you haven't seen them by now, look on the screen if you're watching the video version. Go follow Brandon on Twitch because he's great. Same username on Twitch. These two below me in the video version will be on a thing coming out soon again, which we'll be talking about, so you'll see coverage of it. Not that. Anything but that. And with that, any last words?
Vodka.
Vodka?
Vodka.
We're slowly all starting to sound more like Anna Nicole Smith when we do it, and I kind of love it.
The funny thing is, though, I just put water in this just because I needed dehydration, and I'm like, okay, I am slowly ready to just whoo.
Yes.
Yeah, but I needed it.
Yes. So with that, a cheers to you all. Oh my God, of course. Yes.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I was having a blast, obviously. Of course, I talked to Logan constantly about when to get on, to be honest.
This has been almost a year in the making, but it's fine.
Oh
it's
Logan,
fine.
I actually had an idea for the podcast.
Oh. Are we
What
saying it on
if-
air or not?
I mean, it doesn't matter. You can edit it out if you want.
We'll just end it so
Okay.
it's not 3 hours. Cheers to you all. Happy holidays. I don't know when this video is coming out, so I hope you had a great holiday. Have a wonderful new year. We'll still be putting out videos up until the new year, so this is not the last video of 2021. Okay, goodbye.
Congrats,
Bye.
Dahli.
Yes, congratulations, Dahli. Arizona winner, period. Goodbye. Goodbye. Goodbye now.